It's a shock just to say it out loud. There are boots on the ground in the streets of our nation's capital this afternoon, today. National Guard troops arrived earlier today, acting on orders from their commander-in-chief to execute a takeover of Washington, D.C.'s police department in order to fight crime, which data suggests is at its lowest in decades.
Boots on the ground. In the streets of Washington, D.C., National Guard troops deployed not to fight a war overseas, but to take over the city's police department. And here's the kicker. Crime is already at historic lows. So, what's really going on?
The plan calls for 600 troops to be on standby at all times, so they can deploy in as little as 1 hour, the documents say. They would be split into two groups of 300 and stationed at military bases in Alabama and Arizona, with purview of regions east and west of the Mississippi River, respectively.
This isn't just about D.C. This is about a bigger plan, a federal force on standby for so-called civil unrest. And according to Pentagon documents, this isn't a one-time move.
Using the military to go after American citizens is one of those things I think is a very, very bad thing. Even to say it for political purposes to get elected, I think it's a very, very bad thing, let alone actually doing it. When I was in the White House, for that matter, DHS, I was, originally the conversation would be, Mr. President, that's outside your authority, or, that's a routine use. You really don't want to do that inside the United States. But now that he's talking about it as I'm going to do it, is again, it's disturbing.
And remember, this is not the first time Trump has sent the military into American streets. 10,000 troops to the southern border, nearly 5,000 to Los Angeles during immigration raids, and now 800 National Guard troops in D.C. indefinitely.
He's suggesting that the U.S. military should do to these protesters.
He says, can't you just shoot them? Just shoot them in the legs or something. And he's suggesting that that's what we should do, that we should bring in the troops and shoot the protesters.
The commander-in-chief was suggesting that the U.S. military shoot protesters.
Yes, in the streets
American
of our
protesters.
nation's capital.
And it wasn't just John Kelly. Former Defense Secretary Mark Esper revealed Trump once suggested, quote, can't you just shoot them in the legs? Yes, about protesters in our nation's capital.
What we're seeing essentially is the military used for what, in this case at least, I think is a political stunt. They're used as props, basically, to try to reinforce the messaging that the president is trying to put out. And that's very dangerous. And I think the American people are being conditioned to the president calling up the National Guard in particular, but the military, to whatever goal he might have domestically and for political purposes. And I think it's very dangerous for our country.
Think about that. America's top military and defense officials warned us, not in secret, but openly. And yet, here we are, dangerous and un-American. Military uniforms and loaded weapons on our streets should not be a political backdrop. This is not what democracy looks like.
Until we get what their mission is, what their tasks are, and how they see their purpose in contributing this, I have to agree with Secretary Kendall and say this is a political stunt, and it's used for intimidation. I mean, I watched Secretary Hegseth on a news program last night talking around the fact that guardsmen, when they're on the ground, certainly can use force if they're threatened. But he was couching it in the view that, oh, yes, they're going to use force, potentially. You know, if they're threatened, they're going to use force. So the only thing I can see is that this is a potential in case there are riots, to then deploy the National Guard to provide that civilian support, to provide crowd control. But none of that's happening right now. To say that the Guard is being deployed to conduct police action, that's, as Secretary Kendall just said, is not what they do. I mean, even military police will not do that in a civilian environment. They are spent to do it on a base, in combat, someone else like that. And in fact, it's against the law for them to do it unless unless the president declares an insurrection act, which usually comes about when there's an insurrection. I don't see anything like an insurrection right now going on in Washington, D.C.
Former generals, defense secretaries, and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs warned us. The question now is, will the American people accept a president using the military against his own citizens? Because if we stay silent, this may only be the beginning.